They say that in the heart of the ancient world, in a land of blistering sun and endless desert winds, there once stood a garden so magnificent it seemed to defy the very laws of nature. Imagine tier upon tier of lush greenery spilling down from towering stone terraces, waterfalls shimmering in the light, exotic flowers, mamas from distant lands spilling their colors over the edge. Vines curled around marble columns. Trees swayed in breezes that carried the scent of jasmine and cedar. And all of it, every leaf, every drop of water, hanging high above the ground, suspended in the air as though the gods themselves had planted it. This was the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And yet, no one alive has ever seen them. No ruins have ever been found. No definitive proof they existed has surfaced. The gardens remain a puzzle, a story balanced somewhere between shimmering legend and tantalizing possibility. To understand the mystery, we first have to step back, over 2,500 years, into a world where Babylon was the beating heart of a mighty empire. Situated along the fertile banks of the Euphrates River, in what is now modern-day Iraq, Babylon was no ordinary city. It was a marvel of engineering and ambition. With walls so thick, chariots could race along their tops, and gates of gleaming blue glazed brick, decorated with golden lions, bulls, and dragons. At its height, it was a place where mathematics, astronomy, and architecture flourished, and where rulers sought not just power, but glory eternal. The most famous of these rulers was King Nebuchadnezzar II, who reigned from 605 to 562 BCE. It is in his shadow that the tale of the Hanging Gardens takes root. According to ancient accounts, Nebuchadnezzar built the gardens for his queen, Amytis of Media. Amytis had grown up in a land of rolling green hills, forests, and mountain streams, a stark contrast to the sun-baked plains of Babylon. She missed her homeland's cool air and lush landscapes, and so the king, determined to ease her longing, ordered the creation of an oasis unlike anything the world had ever seen, a living mountain in the heart of the desert. Writers of the ancient world, men like Strabo and Philo of Byzantium, described these gardens as a marvel of tiered architecture. Stone terraces rose one above the other, each planted with trees, shrubs, and flowers imported from faraway lands. Ingenious irrigation systems drew water up from the Euphrates, feeding the plants with a constant flow. Some accounts spoke of pumps, screws, and chains worked by slaves, lifting the water to the highest terraces. And there, high above the city, water spilled over stone like liquid crystal, cooling the air and nourishing a paradise in the sky. But here is where the story starts to shift, and shadows creep in. For as many descriptions as we have of the Hanging Gardens, one voice is conspicuously silent, that of the Babylonians themselves. No Babylonian tablet, inscription, or official record mentions them. The city's detailed chronicles, which celebrate its palaces, temples, and walls, make no reference to any garden of wonder. If it truly was one of the greatest achievements of the ancient world, why would its own people leave no word of it? This silence has led some historians to wonder, did the Hanging Gardens ever exist at all? Or were they born from the embellishments of travelers, the mistakes of later historians, or the blending of separate stories into one? There's another twist to the tale. The earliest written descriptions of the gardens we have come not from Babylon itself, but from Greek historians, men writing centuries after Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Herodotus, often called the father of history, never mentions them at all. The most detailed accounts come from later writers like Diodorus Siculus and Quintus Curtius Rufus, who may have been repeating second- or third-hand tales. And then, in the 20th century, a new theory emerged, one that shifted the mystery hundreds of miles to the north. Dr. Stephanie Dalley, an Assyriologist at Oxford, put forward a radical idea. Perhaps the Hanging Gardens were never in Babylon at all, but in Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire. Daly's argument is built on linguistic clues and archaeological findings. In the cuneiform records of Nineveh, there are references to a massive palace garden created by King Sennacherib in the 7th century BCE. These records describe an advanced irrigation system, including an early form of the Archimedes screw, technology that would have made lifting water to high terraces entirely possible. Relief carvings from Nineveh even show trees and plants arranged on elevated platforms, watered by aqueducts and canals. If Daly is right, then the story of the Hanging Gardens may be the result of later historians confusing Nineveh with Babylon, or deliberately attributing the wonder to Nebuchadnezzar because his name was better known. It would be one of the greatest cases of mistaken identity in history. But others are not convinced. They argue that while Sennacherib's gardens were real and impressive, they might not have matched the scale and grandeur described in the legends. The imagery of a green mountain rising from the desert, of cascading waterfalls shimmering over stone, remains uniquely tied to the romantic idea of Babylon. Archaeologists have searched the ruins of Babylon for decades, but nothing resembling the foundations of the Hanging Gardens has been found. And yet, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The Euphrates has shifted course over the centuries. Whole sections of the ancient city lie buried beneath silt or have been eroded away. It is entirely possible that if the gardens stood, their remains are lost under layers of earth, or under the river itself. Beyond the question of location, there's the sheer engineering challenge. To sustain such a garden in the desert heat, water would have had to be lifted more than 70 feet into the air. The technology described in later accounts, an unending chain of buckets powered by human or animal labor, was theoretically possible in Nebuchadnezzar's time, but it would have required constant maintenance and a workforce dedicated to its operation. That in itself would have been a wonder of organization and wealth. If the Hanging Gardens were real, they would have been more than just a gesture of love for a homesick queen. They would have been a statement of power, proof that Babylon could command not only armies and architects, but nature itself. They would have been a living symbol of the king's ability to reshape the world in defiance of its limits. And perhaps that is why the legend has endured. Whether they stood in Babylon, in Nineveh, or only in the minds of poets, the Hanging Gardens speak to something deep in the human spirit. The dream of creating beauty against all odds, of bending the harshness of the world into something lush and life-giving. Today, when you walk among the ruins of Babylon, you can still feel the weight of history pressing in. The massive walls, crumbled now, still hint at their former scale. The Ishtar Gate, with its deep blue tiles and striding lions, stands partly reconstructed, a ghost of its former majesty. But there are no terraces heavy with greenery, no sound of water tumbling from on high. Just the wind sweeping over sun-baked brick and the silence of centuries. And yet, if you stand there at sunset, when the desert sky burns gold and the Euphrates reflects the light like a river of fire, it's not hard to imagine them. To see in your mind's eye the green cascade of leaves, the shimmer of blossoms in every hue, the cool mist rising from hidden fountains. You can almost hear the rustle of palms, the distant splash of water on stone, the laughter of a queen walking among her trees far above the ground. Maybe that's the truth at the heart of the mystery. The Hanging Gardens endure not because they have been found, but because they live so vividly in our collective imagination. In a way, they have never stopped existing. So, were they real? Perhaps. Perhaps not. Perhaps they were something in between, a seed of truth wrapped in the blossoms of legend. A garden that once stood somewhere in Mesopotamia, its memory transplanted from city to city, century to century, until it grew into one of the 7 wonders. And maybe that is the greatest wonder of all, that a place which may never have existed can still make us dream. still make us long to stand in its shade and breathe its perfumed air. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of history's most enduring mysteries. Tell me, if you could visit the Hanging Gardens for just 1 hour, would you spend it exploring every hidden corner? Or would you simply sit and take in the view, letting the cool breeze carry you into a dream? If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please like, comment, and share. It truly helps keep these stories alive.